Got your light?
Peace, family. Welcome to another episode, Underground Railroad Productions. We out here on 25th, Red Pillar. It's crowded out here, family. Enjoying the day. Listen, Red, man, welcome back to the show, brother.
Peace to the family.
I know y'all just had that lecture in South Carolina.
Yes.
I seen Alim Bey with y'all down there.
Shout out to Alim, shout out to Sabir, shout out to my sister who brought us out there. You know what I mean? Shout out to all of the beautiful people in Durham. Salute. I believe that we'll be back, if not next month, the month after that. Yeah.
So, Red, interesting times we live in.
Yes, yes indeed. Yes it is.
We are rewriting the narrative that is being said on TV. They came up with a new one, Red. This got to be the most ridiculous-ish I've ever heard of. So right after the
desperation.
Desperation. Right after the Vegas shooting, all in all the magazine, GQ, Vox, I mean all these online magazines, they have a new term that they're saying the FBI came up with called BIE, Black Identity Extremists. Let me just read this for you.
Sounds like DIE.
The FBI assesses that it is very likely black identity extremist perceptions of police brutality against African Americans spurred an increase in premeditated, retaliatory, lethal violence against law enforcement and will very likely serve as justification for such violence. So they feel like, then they cited the Dallas shooting with the dude from Dallas,
which they always do.
Which they
Johnson.
This and, it sounds Hooverish. It sounds J. Edgar Hoovish. What they're coming up with.
Hooverish.
But it's funny that this comes out right after the entire country is saying, "Wait a minute, we keep being told that the terrorists is the Arabs, the terrorists is this, but these white men keep committing these mass shootings." So the whole country is looking at them like, wait a minute now, we're being lied to, and it's becoming more and more blatantly evident and obvious. So right after that, a week after that, and we know, bro, man, the problem we have with each other in the world is like, yo, y'all Negroes don't do nothing. So how the hell could the most docile, the most retaliatory people in the world, no other group of people will have die-ins, will get shot down and say, I can't breathe. We have the most passive responses to being killed on the face of this planet. But yet they're going to say there's a new type of terrorist. This is reaching to the levels I have never imagined, desperation of levels I have never imagined.
White fragility.
Talk to me.
So, interestingly enough, when you talk about the feds, because they're the ones who came out with this memo, keep in mind, the memo was released weeks prior to Charlottesville, but you never saw it. It wasn't broadcasted on mainstream media until after the Vegas shooting. Why is that? When you look and see how this story has spread, this story was put inside of Associated Press. I believe the Financial Times were the ones who were carrying the story, but it's basically a placement, meaning that it was given to all of these news agencies to run around the time when they were like, yo, what's the motive behind the Vegas shooter? What's going on? He had money. There's no reason why he would carry out a massacre. He's not poor. He wasn't white trash. He was a rich white man. What's the motive? What they failed to mention, and what I never saw the media come forward with, was the fact that white men, right, white males, between the ages of 25 and 55 are statistically the most dangerous people inside of the borders of America when it comes to terroristic activity, because they have trumped all other races and all other subgroups by the hundreds when it comes to terroristic attacks. You're not seeing it from the Muslims, you're not seeing it from the Asians, you're not seeing it from the blacks. You're seeing it from white men, the ones who shoot up movie theaters, the ones who shoot up classrooms, the ones who shoot up bowling alleys, the ones who shoot up concerts, the ones who've been bombing all kind of stuff, federal buildings and whatnot. These are white men who are dealing with what? White fragility, white inferiority, and they did not mention that white males are leading in mortality rates all around the border, meaning that they're leading in deaths, not black deaths, not yellow or Asian men die. No, white men are leading in deaths. We did a show where we talked about white women leading in suicides, correct? Why don't they ever have any CNN specials on white men dying faster than any other race of people on this planet? They're leading in mortalities. So there's called deaths of desperation. They're dying because of their pill popping. They're shooting up with heroin, their opiate addictions. They're dying deaths of despair, heart attacks, drinking themselves to deaths, all kind of things. So to see a white man in his elder stages carry out a massacre, right, of that level, you would sit back and you would sit back and say, why is the media saying, why did he do it? What is his motives? Why don't you bring up all of the reports of all of the motives that all of the other shooters had? And also for the fact that they did not mention that he was on antidepressant medication, which factors in to a whole bunch of other of these quote-unquote white men who suddenly break and whatnot. They've been on these antidepressants. They've been on the, you know how they have the commercials for the medication, take medication for your headache, but it might lead to suicide. What the hell is that? So the federal authorities, the feds, the FBI, the people, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, what do? They are the ones who deal with psychology, right? They assess behaviors when they are, when the FBI is surveillance, when they're watching you and when they have surveillance on you. What do? They watch all of your activities. They study your mind. They study the places that you go to eat. They study your sex your sex activities and things that they study your browsing history. All of the things, this is what the FBI do, and they build up folders or dossiers on people based on their activities. So there was a dossier that they put out called the Assailant Study. The Assailant Study is something that they released when they were studying the behaviors of police killers. Mind you, the majority of police killers in America are European white males, right? But there's this special group that they're always beginning to pick at. When we did the Fear of a Black and More Messiah series, we spoke about this. Gavin Long, who went and martyred, this was the one who went and martyred Alton Sterling, and I believe it was Alton Sterling and the dude, no, my dude in Staten Island, yeah, Mike Brown, right? They martyred them, right? Meaning that they spilled blood in the name of men who you identify as victims. They took them from victimhood into martyrdom because they spilled blood in their name, right? Then you have the other one. It was Gavin Long and Mika Johnson. Mika Johnson is the 777 ritual that took place in Dallas where they had the dude on the roof, right? A high elevated place, and he did the same thing that the guy in Vegas just did. He clipped, he shot 11 police, allegedly. He shot 11 police and killed 5 of them, I believe. So he martyred, this is another one. And they said that this guy was RBG. And they said that Gavin Long, which was in Baton Rouge, they said that he was an extremist who belonged to a sovereign group who gave up his name. So they put groups who claim sovereignty, that ideology, into a box with one killer, and then they put the RBG dudes in another box with the Dallas dude. So whenever you read these reports now about black extremists, they're going to bring these people up because these are seen as the martyrs. And the other brother who came to Brooklyn, who put the work in on the other 2 police, they brought him up as well. So they've demonized a segment of the black conscious community or the black nationalist community that they're saying these are not even Black Lives Matter. This is the other group. This is the group that has no name. So now they gave it a name and they're calling it Black Identity Extremists. Keep in mind, when you study the alt-right is about ethno-identity. So the alt-right, the white supremacists, the KKK, all of the people who went, Steve Bannon, Breitbart, Milo, and all of the people who fall under that banner, they are white identity extremists, but they won't call it that. Keep in mind, when Trump got into office, one of the first things that he did was to take the white supremacists off of the list of homeland terrorists. Nobody talks about that. With all of these media people, these talking heads that people put their trust into, why did they never talk about that after Charlottesville? Why did they bring up the fact that him and Jeff Sessions took white supremacist groups off of the terror list and kept the black ones on, the Arab ones, and they said they only want to focus on on radical extremist Islam. So what you see, like Rich said, and then, before I forget, the interesting part of this also, if you study, if you've been watching, if you've been paying attention to the news, last week they had a bombshell report that the Russians, now you bring in the Red Scare, the same thing that took place in the 60s when you had the Panthers. It was the Red Scares with the commies. The Russians were behind a website or a Facebook page called Blacktivism. Blacktivism had more followers than Black Lives Matter on Facebook and on Twitter. And then they had Twitter and Facebook went to Capitol Hill and gave up all of the information to Congress about people who click like, people who visited that page, people who were posting on that page. So all of us are falling under that category, because I remember, because Blacktivists was popular because they would do the Instagram 1-minute post and make that shit go viral. So you know how people be tagging you? It'd be 800 people in one goddamn group post. You'd be like, who tagged me? I don't want to see this shit. But you being tagged in the post, and now you're going to be put into the same box where they went and gave your information to Capitol Hill. So there's a witch hunt taking place. There's a witch hunt where they're trying to create a new boogeyman within the borders of the United States of America to take the impetus or to take the light off of their people who are committing hate crimes, crimes against, at an all-time high. Hate crimes at an all-time high. Imagine, just imagine. And I ain't even gonna say it. I ain't gonna say it. So imagine, just use your imagination, if the incident that took place earlier this week, right, coincidentally, right after number 32 got released on parole, you had a shooting on the 32nd, right? But imagine if that was a Black Identity Extremist. Imagine if when they went into his room, he had mad RBG flags and whatnot on his wall. You know what I mean? Imagine where we would be at right now in regards to the conversation about the civil war that they're trying to trump up against us, okay? So they call this man a lone wolf. But what people don't realize is the language that's being used. Go and Google the Wikipedia definition of lone wolf. Lone wolf is a white supremacist term, and I don't like using that word, white supremacist. I use white inferiority, but that is a term that was popularized and brought to you specifically by a white supremacist. And the reason why he came up with the term lone wolf is because he encouraged his people to move in units of one. Because he said, when you put in that work, I want you to move in a unit as a lone wolf to make it so they're not able to draw conclusions and tie your activity into group activity. Because what happens when groups do it, now the group becomes outlawed. There's a target on the group. People start digging in and they're coming up with all of these names. So he's telling his people, go ahead and put in that work as a lone wolf. And then if you die or if you get locked up, you keep your mouth shut, right? You keep your mouth shut and you don't have to reveal anything about your operations or the people that are behind you. That's what you're seeing taking place right now. So stop falling for that fake ass, oh, he's just a lone wolf. You don't even know what the term means, all right? You don't even know what it means. But if he was black, he'd be a rabid dog. He'd be a savage. He'd be all kind of things. But because they know, remember, Psychology. They're studying mind. They're studying the behaviors of your mind, so they know how to throw certain kind of language at you. They know that if they say that this man had money and he was a good man and his neighbors liked him, then you won't have no kind of hate for him, and you'll allow this shit to go by, and then you'll just be like, oh, it was isolated. There was no. That what he did was the reason why Kaepernick is taking a knee. What that man in Vegas did is the same behaviors that the people in blue are doing, but they just not a white real estate investor. They just wearing blue uniforms, riding out for the Klan, killing our people.
You know what's crazy? I don't mean to cut you off because of what you just said. This same agency, the FBI, is the same people that released a memo years ago saying that the KKK infiltrated police. So wait a minute, y'all can release this memo saying the KKK infiltrated the police all over the country, but then you gonna come out with this memo years later talking about the BIE? It's BS written all over this.
When you talk about the feds, go and research the book Racial Matters. They had an office inside of the feds during the 60s called Racial Matters. Then later on you get Black Lives Matters. So remember, the feds are the same people. When they would kill our people in the South, our people were looking for the feds to help. But the feds is J. Edgar Hoover. The feds are not here to help you. The feds, people used to say, oh, we can't get civil rights with the state, so we going on a federal level. Well, God damn it, guess what? The feds are the ones who are behind putting your ass in jail with these drug with these when they giving dudes 80 years for crack cocaine. You know what I'm saying? The feds, the same people that Hoover will bring in, the same feds that toppled Marcus Garvey, the same feds that helped topple every single black organization, the same feds that were the ones that killed the Panthers, the same feds that killed Fred Hampton, the same federal agents that were the ones behind COINTELPRO. So here it is. We need Scooby-Doo for this one. Scooby-Doo would tell you, hold on. The monster, when he pulls the mask off, was the same bird. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same people. Stop falling for the okie doke. So if the feds put out a report that says the KKK has infiltrated law enforcement, well, goddamn it, the KKK is also inside of the feds too, bro. That's why when they used to go down south, when they went for Medgar Evans and all of that, the feds could not bring any charges on the KKK because they were in bed with them. So miss me with all of that. I don't ever want to hear anybody talk about, oh, we're going to take this to a federal level because that's where we're going to get justice from. No, you not. No, you not. It's never happened before. It's not going to happen now.
Yeah, so I just want to close out by reading the rest of the article, real short. Despite these efforts to create a new class of terrorists, there's no evidence that any such movement really exists. Critics of the label say it's an attempt to make an official false equivalence between Black Lives Matter activists and white supremacists who are responsible for the majority of domestic terror attacks and politically motivated police murders.
Facts.
Specifically, this will give the FBI wide freedom to boost surveillance of Black Lives Matter activists. Hell, it's so vague, it could cover anyone who pretends a protest or takes police shouldn't kill unarmed black people stance publicly.
Fact.
This isn't some paranoid concern. The FBI has a notorious history of spying on and smearing black activists. This is the agency behind the COINTELPRO efforts to undermine civil rights groups and the infamous attempt to blackmail Martin Luther King into suicide. So it's not out of character that their response to police brutality is to invent a pretense to criminalize critics rather than actually deal with the police brutality.
And keep in mind that Jeff Sessions is in complete control of the feds after they got rid of whoever they got rid of and they put in a puppet.
Oh, he's in control? Jeff Sessions?
Jeff Sessions, as Attorney General, is in control of the feds now. So, you know.
That says a lot.
It's a desperate attempt. It's a desperate attempt to, like you said, to paint groups of black people who are waking up. We're inside of the age of Aquarius. There's movements. They gave a new definition to woke inside of Webster's, talking about brothers and people that are awake. You know what I mean? Like, that are conscious. So this rise in consciousness, this rise in awareness, this rise in black liberation, this rise in black power, this rise in all things, you know, where our people are becoming more confident in who they are, more, you know, identity conscious. You dig what I'm saying? When people are trying to search for the truth, because a lot of these lies are being exposed, they're coming out with this new blanket statement. And like you said, it could be applied to anybody. If you on some I'm black and I'm proud, you could be seen as a black identity extremist. Kaepernick, the NFL, the people that are kneeling, they are now going to be termed black identity extremists. Oh, you trying to mess up the NFL's money? Oh, you don't want to salute the flag? Oh, so you must be an extremist. You know what I mean? So we're doing this not to raise any fear amongst our people. We're doing this to make our brothers and sisters aware of what is being done behind the scenes, so you don't step into that bear trap. Mind, you know, police your mouth when you're online. Don't fall for when you got these alt-right trolls going at you, threatening your life. You can't return that threat with a life, because like they set our sister up before, some of them trolls are 12 years old. And then if you say, well, I'm gonna come into your house and kill you too, they can now come into your house and lock you up to say that you threatened and endanger the life of a child, and all of these other traps that they're trying to set up. Pay them no mind. The best way to starve your enemy out, or the best way to not let a virus grow, is to ignore that shit. Well, maybe not a virus, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Don't give them the energy. Don't give them your energy. Don't fall into their traps. You dig what I'm saying? If you have content that is online, this kind of incendiary, you might want to take it down for right now. You might want to be cool, because, you know, you don't want Agent Smith and them knocking at your door at 5 a.m. pulling a Fred Hampton. Facts. Okay? So be very wary. They're going to activate a lot of their agents. They're going to activate a lot of their CIs, confidential informants. They're trying to come up with lists of names, organizations, because the Black Lives Matter thing didn't work. People got hip to that. So now they're trying to come up with a new group to demonize. You don't want to fall under the BIE, because they'll have the right to put you in DIE. You don't want to go to Guantanamo Bay. You know what I'm talking about? You don't want that.
All right, brother, leave your contact info for the people to get at you, brother.
Go ahead and go on to Google or iTunes. Go and get that app. You know what I'm talking about? Scorpion King CD, right on Bandcamp. Check that out. You know what I'm saying? Kingscounty.bigcartel. Love and light to the family. Peace.
Peace.
Greetings. I am Sri Master Gano Grills for the Underground Railroad Black Magic. It's very important that you don't take the laws of reciprocity lightly. I would like for all of you to donate what you can. Donate $20. Donate $100. Make it count. Make it hurt. Because if you watched at least 5 videos and you have derived some sense of eloquence or some kind of benefit into your life, it's important that you restorate and you pay in and you support this channel. I know I do. And I want Brother Rich to continue to do the great work that he's doing. And it's important for all of us to come in and submit and help out the cause.